Welcome to Guide to Youth with Reha and Dr. D. Texting, are you addicted? We're here to talk about texting etiquette and how it connects us, or in some cases disconnects us from each other. Maybe addicted is too strong of a word, but is texting the 20th century obsession, or are we just temporarily smitten with this new form of communication? And now for the news. A recent ruckus in the New York Senate halted agendas because one senator was angry at another for fiddling with his smartphone throughout a meeting. Also, a Yahoo Hot Jobs poll of 5,300 people earlier this year found that 33% of associates admitted to texting regularly during meetings. If 33% admit to it, how many do you think really are doing it? Lots more for sure. But we know that on the average, 18 to 24-year-olds send and receive a whopping 3,200 text messages a month. Is this too strong to call this an addiction? I think we're smitten with technology and in love with our phones. There are three basic differences in smartphones and how they operate. The capacitive screens are faster and require electron transfer, heat electricity conducted from your screen to the display of the device. This should make you feel like you're connected to the matrix, because you are. Phones with capacitive screens do not work if you're wearing gloves or if you're dead. So these phones are very popular, and most iPhones have capacitive screens. There are resistive screens. They can be touched by an object. For example, you can use a straw to select items, or on the resistive screens. And then the fanciest of all are the active matrix organic light emitting diodes, a screen that is organic and emits its own light. However, usually an electronic current is still run through the screen to give the ultimate brightness. And this electronic current is transmitted from your skin. Your electrons communicate with your phone. And that is our news. I would like to offer a few tips for effective texting communication. In real life, human interaction is governed by the 3 R's: respect, responsiveness, and result. Respect essentially means I hear you. Responsiveness is your answer. It means usually yes, no, not now, not interested, go to hell. And result means you will do what you said you're going to do. As some of you have found, due to the non-intrusive form of texting, the 3 R are not always practiced in this form of communication. This leads to hurt feelings, misunderstanding, and miscommunication.
Get this, Ray, how I was texting a girl for a couple of weeks and decided to call her. She was shocked that I called her. I asked her, how many times did you text today? She said, many. I said, how many times have you had talk, or how many people did you actually talk to? She said, none. I told her I would rather sometimes listen to your actual voice and your laughter versus endless readings of LOLs.
That's very true, Dr. D. I believe text should be used primarily for logistics. I think of texts as preludes or follow-ups to conversations, not the conversation itself. That's why text needs to be kept short. More than 160 characters means that a phone call or email is the better way to deliver your message.
It's definitely super easy for your tone to be misunderstood in a text, even more than in an email. That's why texts are best left for mundane messages like I'm home, or I'm on my way, or I will be there shortly.
Well, texting while you're with others is as rude as getting up and leaving them in mid-sentence. Just don't do it. Also, don't text in movies. It's tempting to stay connected with your friends and update them on what you're seeing. Don't text in church. You're there to connect to God, not to the matrix. Don't text in meetings, in class, or while at someone's house. Even if your friends have left the area for a moment, or the movie business meeting or church service hasn't started yet, be tuned into the place you're at as soon as you enter the area, even in the quiet moments and downtime. This is all part of showing respect and being there where you appear to be when you appear to be there.
I challenge our listeners to go without their phones for 24 hours. Disconnect from the grid and see how you feel. Is this your phone addiction? Do you feel despair, situational anxiety because you're accustomed to having your phone, these random conversations? We call them iPhones, but they're really tracking devices or computers.
How do we effectively use this form of communication to connect with people, not to stay disconnected? Texting is often associated with being alone together. Two people can be in the same room, and instead of speaking with each other, they're texting each other. Why is this so fun? Why is this so necessary? Why do people choose to communicate electronically in informal, non-intrusive, disconnected ways when they're right there and they could be speaking to the person in a conversation? And I think that this is primarily due to the fact that in a conversation, a person has no control over what is being said. They do not get a lapse in response, and they do not get that extra few seconds to consider their comment. For this reason, texting has become so popular. It makes people feel empowered, and it allows them to reach so many people without intruding in their life at all hours of the day and night. One of the things that some of you may be wondering about is how is texting used in dating, the do's and don'ts of texting etiquette. What do you do after a date? How do you communicate with your date? For instance, do you text them back immediately after the date, or do you wait until the next day to text them?
I'm thinking it's best to wait till the next day. You don't want to seem too eager, and it makes you sound desperate. Wait a day or two. Give them a slow response.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. I think it's better to wait until the next day to text them. Also, don't send them a lengthy text message. Just something, sweet, and just enough so a guy doesn't lose interest. Am I right?
The last thing I want to expect from my female partner is a long, wordy text message. I'm okay with a quick, to-the-point message. I don't want to read a book every time I receive a text message.
Definitely, and I think it's perfectly okay to sign off with a kiss, an emoticon that shows a kiss if you had a good time and if you want to see the person again. However, some people believe that it's not okay to use emoticons, that, it's better to go ahead and text and not appear too childish by using emoticons. But this is, entirely up to the person. And also, it's also important not to overload your date with too many texts. And by all means, do make yourself available without looking desperate. This is all part of what you can accomplish with texting. Thank you very much for listening. This is Reha, your resident gypsy, and Dr. D. Be good and see you next time.